Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of Check with Tech, your guide to all things tech. I'm your host, Yaseen Azzam, and before we get started, I want to announce that there is a new feature on my website called What's New, where you can get all sorts of specific information about any major topic. So right now, the only topic right now is the OnePlus 7T Pro, which again we will be talking about it in this episode. And if you want to know more about it, be sure to check out my website. The link is in the description of the podcast. Now, let's start with the Oppo Reno Ace. Oppo just announced it a couple of days ago. Spec-wise, it's almost identical to the OnePlus 7T. It will have the Snapdragon 855 Plus with a 6.5-inch 1080p display with a 20:9 aspect ratio and a little water drop notch with also a 90 Hz refresh rate. So on the front, it's almost exactly identical to the OnePlus 7T, but here is what's really going on. Now, if you actually buy this phone, Oppo has a reputation of making phones that support extremely fast charging, but sometimes not actually putting it in the package. But now the Oppo Reno Ace will have a 65-watt charging brick right in the package, which says it can get you from 0 to 100% in 30 minutes. How? I mean, just 2 weeks ago we thought 45 watts was enough, but now we have 65, and you really don't need to worry about charging at this point. But what I am concerned of right now is it will have a 4000 milliamp hour battery, and I'm not really sure about heating issues, but we will see. Now, let's talk about macOS Catalina. Catalina is basically macOS 10.15, and it's now here for everyone that has a supported MacBook. Basically, it has a bunch of new features. iTunes is gone on the Mac. It's now separated into Apple Music, Apple TV, and Apple Podcasts, with Finder and a specific application you need to back up your phone if you want to. And you can now use your iPad as a second display. So that's actually pretty useful if you want a lot of control. Screen time is available now to the Mac. And you can use applications specifically made for iPad onto macOS Catalina. Find Your Mac is more intuitive and easier. You can manage your notes easy and reminders, and you can finally access your Apple account from macOS. And now here is a little issue. macOS Catalina will not support 32-byte applications. I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of people who download applications without knowing what 64 or 32 actually mean. But basically, if you just upgraded it and you find some applications missing, that's probably the reason. They probably support 32-bit. I don't know why Apple put this feature in, but there is a specific 64-bit, don't worry, application that tells you which applications are 64 and which ones are 32. Now, naturally, we have to transition from macOS to iOS and iPadOS. So now, if you have any device running iOS 13 or more, if you have, for example, if you have a wireless charger for, let's say it's 15 watts, and you use it with your phone and it's not made by Apple will force the speed to go down to 5 watts. So they're basically trying to convince you to buy Apple's fast wireless charging, which is 7.5 watts. I don't know how that's considered fast, and 5 watts, that's really aggressive. I mean, you wasted $50 on a wireless charger, and now it's all ruined. I don't know why. But then again, I mean, who am I to judge? And now the Redmi Note 8. Xiaomi just announced a new phone, the Redmi Note 8. I mean, it's technically not available now. It will have the Helio G90T processor with up to 8 gigabytes of RAM and up to 128 gigabytes of storage. It will have a 4500 milliamp hour battery with an 18 watt charging brick in the package. It will have 5 cameras in total, 4 in the back and 1 in the front. It will have in the back a 64 megapixel normal camera, an 8 megapixel ultra wide lens, a 2 megapixel macro camera, just like what we had on the Oneplus 7T, but now it's a whole separate lens, and a 2 megapixel depth sensor for portrait mode. And in the front we will have a 20 megapixel selfie water drop camera. Now, as of the recording of this episode, OnePlus just announced the OnePlus 7T Pro and the OnePlus 7T Pro McLaren Edition yesterday. And in the OnePlus 7T Pro, it has the same specs as the regular OnePlus 7T. The only difference is that it will have a 6.67 inch QHD plus fluid OLED 90Hz display, and it will have a bigger battery, a 4085 mAh with Warp Charge 30T. It will have a new matte color called Haze Blue, and it will launch at October 17, and it will start at 699 euros. Now let's talk about the OnePlus 7T Pro McLaren Edition. OnePlus is, since I don't know, a long time ago, had partnered with McLaren to produce limited edition McLaren Edition, and now they're continuing this partnership this year. It's basically the same as the regular OnePlus 7T. The only difference is it will have a new color called Papaya Orange, which McLaren used in its cars around 50 years ago. And the box, there will be a protective case made out of Alcantara, a material McLaren usually puts in the interior of their cars. It will launch on November 5 and to start at 799 euros. Now, why am I saying euros? Fun fact, the OnePlus 7T Pro and the McLaren Edition will not ship to the US, only the regular 7T. So, from what I understand is, only the OnePlus 7 Pro is it can be bought from the US, not the 7, and the OnePlus 7T can be bought in the US, but not the 7T Pro. It's a little bit of confusion, but yeah. Now, if you want to know more about the OnePlus 7T Pro, be sure to check over to my website. It's just like I said in the beginning of the episode. Now, this will wrap up this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to check out my other episodes, and don't be afraid to leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Until next week, this is Yaseen Azzam signing out.